Welcome to the Vibrant Visibility Podcast. Being visible as a soul-led business owner isn't just about the practical strategies, marketing tips, and tech systems. It's also about the internal systems, the safety of your nervous system, the somatic connection, and the embodiment of being a badass CEO that will support you in all of the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. And I'm here to share all of that with you on this show. I'm your host, Shawnee Arsenault, a registered nurse turned visibility coach and business mentor for heart-centered coaches and healers. I created a six-figure coaching practice in my first year of business and scaled to multiple six figures my second year, all in the middle of getting pregnant with my first baby and becoming a new mama. If I can do this entrepreneurship thing, I know you can too. If you're ready to learn how to be a CEO in a way that feels aligned with your heart, become a lighthouse for the people that you're meant to serve, feel free to authentically express yourself and be a magnet for success, and grow your coaching business in a way that is sustainable and fulfilling, I can't wait to be in your ear along for the ride. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Vibrant Visibility Podcast. So today we're talking about a topic that I know so many of you are craving clarity on. This is something that is a recurring theme with my clients, and that is how to create content that actually feels like you. And not the version of you that you think people want to see, but the real you, right? The one who shows up authentically, unapologetically, raw, real, no mask. You know, this is actually a really fun topic for me to talk about, but I also can see and understand how vulnerable and scary this feels. So what we're going to do today is unpack what it means to find our truth. We're going to kind of walk through how to tune into your body for guidance on what feels like you and what doesn't. And I'll hopefully be giving you some really practical tips that you can take into your own lives, into your own businesses for creating content that's honest, that feels aligned, that feels resonant. Plus, I'll share some, of course, personal stories of the moments where I noticed I was being fully myself and times that I wasn't, and the lessons that I learned along the way. So let's get into it. This first piece here is really going to be about finding and defining your truth, right? So like, what is your truth? I like to define your truth as your truth is the core of who you are underneath all of the walls and the filters and the expectations that have been placed on you or that you have created out of necessity. It's that feeling that you get when you are in flow, doing the work that you love and connecting with the people that you're meant to serve, when you are the most creative, the most aligned, the most inspired. And when it comes to identifying what your truth is, I like to think of this question. Who are you when nobody is looking, right? Who am I when nobody is looking? When I sit with myself, with all of my thoughts and emotions and beliefs and values and personality traits and my weird little quirks and all of the external pressures and expectations fall away, who am I left with? What's left there? Who is that person? Personally, I feel the most myself whenever I am singing. And it's something that I don't do in front of people very often anymore, but I come from a performing background and I used to perform all of the time. And the reason I pulled away from performing and singing in front of people was because I started to feel like the act of singing is where I felt totally myself. I would get lost in the music and the emotion whenever I would sing. And eventually over time, I felt like this outlet for me was being threatened by outside expectations to perform well or to not miss notes or to sing whenever I was asked to and not because I wanted to. And so I started to pull away. It's a little piece of me that I protect a lot now. But whenever I'm singing, I feel connected to my soul, my emotions, my darkness and my light. And I feel like I can be the most myself there whenever music is coming out of my mouth. There's something really therapeutic about the sensations in my body that I get whenever I'm singing, especially whenever I'm singing a song that is also very emotional for me. Ooh, I'm getting choked up just even thinking about it. Okay, so for you, whenever we are trying to find and identify your truth, Think about a time or a place or maybe something that you engage in or take part in where you feel or have felt like you can be the most yourself. Okay, it might be working out. It might be writing in your journal. It might be, when you were in the depths of a coaching session. It might be midair while you're skydiving. I don't know. But being yourself should feel like home, So identify when you feel the most yourself and the most at home, and invitation to just bring more awareness to how that sense of home feels for you. So, first, before we find your truth, sometimes it might feel easier to identify what doesn't feel like you, to figure out what that misalignment actually feels like. Okay, so think about times when you might have posted something and then immediately felt a pit in your stomach. And then you went and continuously refreshed your feed to see if anyone liked it or commented or if you got any reaction, right? When you are sharing something that matches the trends, that is following what other people are doing, but it doesn't quite resonate with you, but you're doing it anyways because you see how successful it is. Like that's the kind of stuff you want to be paying attention to. Another example is, and this is not so much related to content creation or to your business, but if you responded in a reactionary way to someone and because they said something that might have like pushed your buttons and it doesn't exactly reflect how you actually wanted to respond, but it was just a reactionary thing. I think about this all the time when we lose our temper or yell at our kids. For any of you who are mamas or parents out there, the mother who yells is not actually the real me. Okay, it's a triggered version of me, one that isn't actually the core of who I am. That's not the mother I want to be. That's not what's deep in my heart. It's just a part of me that is begging for attention, that's begging to be looked at. But it's not the truth of who I am. So whenever you're creating content, think about when does it feel inauthentic? I actually find that a lot of my clients and a lot of people that I work with feel inauthentic when they are using selling language. I find that selling language is a big block for a lot of coaches that I work with. In that, language that promotes their offers or workshops or their coaching businesses at all feels inauthentic, which I get. I get that sales in general can feel gross sometimes, especially if you have only been taught a way of selling that is very formulaic and doesn't allow any room for you to just like be yourself. It's very scripted. It's very, tacky, like used car salesman type of vibe. But it's helpful to know that this is a block for you, that selling language feels inauthentic because that just means we have to find selling language that does feel authentic. It is possible. It just takes a little bit of practice and it takes a little bit of willingness to be seen as someone who is selling, right? Selling is unavoidable in your business. If you are a business owner, no matter what kind of business you have to learn how to sell. You have to learn how to sell really well. And like I said, it is possible for you to find language in your selling strategy that resonates with you and that feels genuine, that feels true, that feels authentic, and it doesn't feel like you are performing or manipulating people, right? So if at any point, anything that you are using for marketing or any like marketing posts that you share or whatever, if it feels inauthentic, if it feels weird, that's a good piece of information to know, right? Because then instead of hiding, instead of not saying anything at all or not putting yourself out there at all, how do we change that language to fit something that feels more authentic, more like you? So the more that you say no to what doesn't align, the more space you create for the content that truly feels like you. You can find language that sells, that talks about your offers and your coaching in a way that feels good. And it just, like I said, it just takes practice and willingness to have it feel not quite like you until we land on something that does. It's a lot of trial and error. I do this with my clients a lot. I actually have them write down stories of results that their clients have gotten, or maybe even like drafting social media posts that's going to promote an offer that they have or something like that. And I have them send it to me and then I ask them questions. I pick apart their post. And if something feels inauthentic to me as I read it, I ask them to get more specific. If they're using language like, 6 months ago, I felt stuck. What do you mean by that? What do you mean you feel stuck? Like, give me details of what your internal experience was feeling stuck. And then whenever you were pulled out of it through coaching or through whatever healing modality that you're going to introduce to your audience, how did it affect you? And I try to have people get really, really specific, because the more specific you can be in your language, the more authentic it does feel and the less salesy it feels. So that's just a tiny little language sales tip there. um, Okay, this next piece here is just a little breakdown of where this comes from, this concept of just not being yourself, why we do it, and it's a protective mechanism, right? The root of hiding, the root of putting on a mask and not being yourself is because sometimes deep down, we don't think we're enough. We don't think that the true authentic version of ourselves is enough. So not being yourself is often a way of protecting yourself. Whenever we have been criticized or judged or even rejected for being who we are, we learn to put that mask on, to put those walls up, and it feels safer to blend in than to risk standing out or being different or offending someone or making others feel uncomfortable. I personally didn't feel like I was totally myself for, I think, my entire first year of business. I created a lot of success that first year, and I did feel like I was being as much of me as I could be at the time because, honestly, I didn't fully know. I didn't fully know who I was as a coach. And then whenever I found business coaching specifically, especially whenever I started to support people around the visibility aspect of their business, and I added in somatics in the past year, it was like I was meeting myself all over again. But for the longest time, I was afraid to claim business coach because I didn't want to be that coach that became a business coach after a year of coaching. Like, I almost felt like I didn't deserve that title because I hadn't, put in my time. Or there's also this perception that people go into business coaching to make more money. And I didn't want people to think that about me. But business coach, visibility coach felt like me. It's something that lights me up. It is something that excites me so much. And I could tell that whenever I was trying to hold on to life coach, wellness coach, it didn't fully resonate. There was something off about it. There was something about it that just felt not true. And I held on to it because I didn't want to take the risk of potentially being judged or criticized for shifting to business coaching and having people think that I'm only doing this to make more money, because that's not what my motivation is. I truly love helping entrepreneurs feel safe to be more visible so that they can help more people. Like, when I say that out loud, that, I believe, is what I was born to do. I hear a lot of my clients tell me, I know I'm holding back. I'm not putting myself out there because I don't want to be judged. I don't want people to think of me a certain way or perceive me a certain way. And I totally get it. Like, the entire story that I just told really illustrates this. I get it, right? This is a survival mechanism. And we're trying to keep ourselves safe from the judgment, from the criticism. And I want to offer here that hiding might feel safe, but it also keeps you stuck in the same spirals. And there is very little opportunity for growth and alignment and feeling that freedom of being 100% yourself in your business if we don't have the willingness to change our definition of safe. Okay? That was a little preachy, but it's a protective mechanism, right? And here in this next part, this is kind of what I'm going to talk about, of like the somatics of it, right? The physical sensations, the somatic element of alignment versus misalignment. Okay. Your body's wisdom. I dive into this a little deeper in my Vibrant Visibility course and my program, but there's a somatic element here. Like, your body knows the truth before your brain does. And when something feels aligned, when it feels like truth, you might feel like a deep sense of ease, of warmth, of excitement. For me, I usually feel it like a tingling in my shoulders. Whenever something feels in alignment, whenever I get excited about something, or an openness in my chest, I can also feel it in my throat. Like, my jaw will tingle a little bit, like I'm trying to hold back a smile when something feels in alignment. And when it's out of alignment, you might feel like a tightness or heaviness anywhere in your body, or you might feel anxious. I always get that like turning in my stomach, or even sometimes a headache. My jaw tightens. There are physical manifestations of how that truth or misalignment can translate into your body. So do a mini exercise here with me. After you create content, before you post or share it, pause. Okay? Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, how does this feel in my body? If it feels tense, if it feels off, ask yourself why. Ask yourself if this feels honest, if this feels like your truth, if it feels light and expansive, even if it feels a little nerve-wracking, go for it. But if any part of you deep down knows that this doesn't feel like your truth, if there's even a sliver of doubt, that's just an invitation for you to kind of reevaluate. All right, so here are some practical strategies that I want to share with you for creating really authentic, genuine content. Okay. The first tip I have here is to write like nobody will see it. Write like nobody is going to look at it. Like some of my most powerful, impactful, resonant posts started out as journal entries to myself that were just for me. You know, there's a lot of magic in letting yourself create without the pressure of having to share it. So I think I talked about this in a previous episode, but one of my favorite marketing emails that I've ever written was a letter to my younger self. And it was a very vulnerable letter. And it was also one of the emails that got the most responses from people. It really resonated with a lot of people. And I even had people emailing me letters that they wrote to themselves. Like it was a really beautiful moment of connection with me and my audience. And whenever I wrote it, I had no intention of sharing it. But as I was coming up with marketing content, I remembered writing that letter, and I felt that it was just a really genuine way for me to have my audience see me, you know, because I was promoting Vibrant Visibility at the time, my group program. So a lot of times I will write stuff that is just for me. I'm not really intending for anyone to see it. And then as I'm creating content for stuff later, I can kind of recall some of the things that I wrote in the past, and I can choose what to share with my audience and what to keep private. Second tip. Honesty is the best policy, okay? When you share what is real, what is honest, what is raw and authentic, people feel it. People can feel the difference between what is authentic and what's something that is coming up really organically. And that honesty builds trust. It builds a strong foundation of trust between you and your people. So always ask yourself before you share any content, does this feel honest? You know, I think about this a lot of times whenever I share my struggles in my business and motherhood. A lot of times I'm sharing really honest posts that aren't sugarcoating my experience. You know, I am talking about the struggles. I'm talking about some dark shit. And those always are really scary to share for sure, but they bring really meaningful responses from people. And I get to have amazing conversations with people that I probably never would have been able to have these conversations with before, unless I had shared those things. So share what's honest, share what's true, even if it's not all rainbows and butterflies. Like people do want to see the real shit. Tip 3, don't force it. Don't force it. If you're creating content just to check a box, your audience can tell. Okay, wait for the spark and then capitalize on the spark. I always tell people, like, whenever you're feeling really creatively energized, if that creativity is flowing, create as much as you can right then and there and then drip it out, so that whenever you have those times where you don't feel quite as inspired or you don't feel that energy flowing super easily, you have the margin to step back and take a break and have those posts or that content that you created from whenever you did have a lot of energy, you can have that drip out and give you some time to like reset. Batching, that's my next tip, actually. So don't force it, wait for the spark and then capitalize on the spark and then batch, okay? Batch and delay, right? Capture your ideas whenever inspiration hits, but don't feel like you have to post it immediately. I love batching. Batching lets you like work in flow and in advance. And I like to see it as like it's giving your future self a gift, right? It prevents burnout. So batch and delay. Tip 5. Oh my gosh, I can't talk about this enough. And I know I've talked about this in several podcast episodes in the past, but have a brain dump process. Okay. Sometimes we really have to just clear the clutter to get to the gold. I like to sit down with a blank document and write whatever's in my head, no judgment. I do a ritual every single morning called the somatic start. It's a little spin off of the daily check-in from my mentor, Anna. And it's got like some somatic elements to it and things like that. I kind of tweaked it to fit my own process, right? So brain dump regularly. I also like to do morning pages. If you've ever read Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way, the morning pages, oh my gosh, it's literally one of the best exercises ever to just like dump everything out, everything that's weighing on you, all of those negative thoughts. Honestly, most of my morning pages are like me being a bitch and complaining and just bitching and moaning about everything that's bothering me, everything that's annoying me, but afterwards I feel so much better. I feel lighter because I have an outlet. I have a place to put all of that negative energy instead of having it leak out into my business, into the way I show up as a wife, as a mom. Like I have a place to put it. So brain dump regularly. I also have a free template for the somatic start. If any of you are interested in that, it'll be in the show notes for you. Okay. Tip number 6, be the real you. Right? You can't share the real you if you're not spending time being her or him, if you're a man listening to this. Like one of my favorite practices is taking myself, again, I'm going to bring in Julia Cameron, The Artist's Way, on artist dates, right? I let myself go play. I let myself get curious. I reconnect with my creativity. I love, oh my gosh, my favorite thing to do ever is to walk around Barnes & Noble. Even if I don't buy anything, I love walking around Barnes & Noble. I love looking at different books and looking at the covers and reading the first pages. And I don't know. I love books. So Barnes & Noble is one of my favorite places to go on an artist date, even if it's like a walk, being outdoors. My husband and I just came back today. Actually, whenever I'm recording this, we just came back from a writing date where we went to a coffee shop. Well, we got lunch, we went to a coffee shop, and we both had our laptops out and we are working on our stories. And we're both writing, like kind of like fantasy stories. So just those types of things, a self-care ritual or something that helps you feel like you are pouring into that cup. I like to think of the brain dump as getting all of the junk out, and then the artist date is filling all of that empty space with more creative energy. So you're kind of like refilling yourself. Okay, so I kind of want to wrap this up with some questions that you can ask yourself when you're creating content. Okay, these questions have been a game changer for me whenever I'm creating content, and I find that they might be really helpful for you, especially if you're wanting to create more without losing the authenticity. Okay. So there are 4 questions. The first one is, and I've mentioned it several times already in this episode, but does this feel honest and true? Does this feel honest and true? The second is, would I resonate with this if I saw someone else share it? I love asking that question because it really does allow me to put myself in my audience's shoes. It allows me to think about the type of content that I resonate with, that I see from other people. So yeah, would I resonate with this if I saw someone else share it? The third question is, am I sharing this for clout or connection? Right? Really identifying and being super honest with yourself, not judging yourself, but being really honest with yourself of, am I sharing this for attention, for clout, or am I sharing this to connect with people? Because there's a big difference, and that energy is very different. If any piece of you is sharing it for attention or clout, you could write the same post with the intention to connect and with the intention to get attention. The same exact post, same exact text, but for some reason, people can tell what the intention is, right? It's an energetics thing. So get really clear on that. Be really honest with yourself, and ask yourself this question often as you create your content. And then the fourth question is, does this reflect who I am and what I stand for? Right? Is this reflective of who I am and what I stand for? And to do that, you have to know what your truth is. So to recap, I feel like this episode got a little bit preachy and intense. I feel very passionate about this topic, very passionate. So to recap, I think authentic content is not about having everything look a certain way or having it be perfect. It really is about the messiness. It really is about being real and connected to yourself, connected to your own healing journey, connected to others, and having you be true to who you are. And whenever you let your truth be the one that leads, your audience will feel it and they'll resonate with the real you. You'll become magnetic to them. And it feels easier. Like marketing is easier if you can do this, right? It doesn't feel like super hard. Honestly, marketing is the thing that I think people struggle with the most as new coaches, as new business owners. They always think about the marketing and how do I get the right angle to present this offer to my audience? Like, no, we don't need an angle. We just need excitement from you. You have to be passionate about it. So anyways, okay, I feel like I could go on several long tangents about this, but I want to wrap it up and not, be just babbling about the same thing over and over again. So if this resonated with you, let me know. I would love to get an email from you or message me on social media. I also have my waitlist open for Vibrant Visibility. We are actually starting in March, but my waitlist is open and I'm going to have an early bird time period going on at the end of this month, at the end of January. So make sure to sign up for that. The link to the waitlist will be in the show notes. I'm also doing a few free annual planning mini sessions. So I've been doing this a lot with my one-on-one clients and just having them pull out their calendars and let's plot their business, give them a structure for what they're going to be working on over the next quarter or year in their business. And it has been so, so helpful. So I want you guys to be able to walk into the new year with clarity, with confidence in who you are, with confidence in your messaging, in your content that actually feels like you. So if you want to snag one of those, I'm only opening a few of them this month. That link will be in the show notes for you as well, or you can always email me or send me a message on social media. But I will see you next time. I hope you have a beautiful week ahead, and I'm rooting for you guys. Thanks so much for tuning in today. If this was helpful for you, subscribe to the show to make sure you're always in the loop when a new episode is out. And I would love to invite you to join me in the free Visibility and Tech Support for Coaches community, where we hang out and chat about all things visibility, tech, systems, and heart-centered business building. I regularly share tips and tutorials and go live every now and then, and it's just nice to be in a community with other like-minded coaches and healers. So you can join this free space at alignwellco.com/community, and I can't wait to see you there.